Hi guys, this is Andrea Schindel again, and today I'm in my office and thought it might be helpful to talk a little bit about setting boundaries with teenagers. So this morning my husband and I were talking about one of our kids having a hard time owning his own actions and decision making, and having a hard time with that because they get often defensive in the moment, which if you're raising a teenager, you already know that. So one of the things that I often talk about with parents in the counseling room, mostly without the teenager present, so that there's no expectation that I'm choosing the teenager's side or against the teenager for that matter, is that the parent often has to take a more of a non-reactive stance in the moment, mainly just because teenagers get so defensive when they are confronted with their decisions. Sometimes because they're afraid of getting in trouble, sometimes because they often feel embarrassed about the decision that they've made, and sometimes just because they're confused about it. So one of the ways that I like to interact with my teenagers is being able to start the conversation with, hey, this isn't about being in trouble. This is not about, whether I am going to be there for you. This is really about you learning and growing. Sometimes that can take down some of that defensiveness. That doesn't mean that there's not consequences to their behavior though. And I often remind parents when we're having that conversation in counseling that just because we're talking about taking a different approach doesn't mean that we also take away the consequence. And it's really about holding compassion for the child or the teenager while still maintaining that there are going to be consequences afterwards and not using those consequences as a threat. Teenagers are super susceptible to becoming defensive if they think that they're going to be threatened, especially with like a punishment or something that they value being taken away. Not that you shouldn't take those things away, but don't use them as a threat. Instead, focus on the actual issue, like let's say for instance, they lied about something or took something they weren't supposed to take. But confronting that and saying, hey, this is about your growth and your integrity, not about the consequence that comes after. And then also framing it around, hey, you chose this consequence. It's not about mom or dad punishing you, but it's about your choices. And if you don't want to have consequences, then make choices where you don't have to worry about those things. And then when they start complaining, let's say you took away a phone or you took away a privilege, in order to help teach that to your teenager and they become upset with you, remind them, hey, I don't really want you to miss out on this stuff either. In fact, I would prefer that you have access to all of this stuff, but you made the choice, and so you chose the consequence. Next time, choose better. You're not in trouble. It's about learning, and make it more about the learning process and framing those around that. It also sets your teenager up for better boundaries in their own relationships, rather than using guilt or reacting angry in those relationships. They're more likely to say, hey, if you didn't want me to respond or, not hang out with you, then maybe you would act differently in this relationship. So it sets them up for better boundaries. I hope this has been helpful. Make sure you subscribe. We'll talk to you later. Bye.